Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the webinar. My name is Jess Larkin, and I'm the Marketing Communication Specialist at Cornerstone. I'm your host for the Build Your Brand webinar series and your go-to gal for all of your marketing questions. I want to help you build a brand that's focused on growth. Today, we're going to be talking about your website, how to create one, how you can improve your existing website, and the importance of better design and functionality. But before we get into that, we'll start with a little bit of housekeeping. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, please type them into the chat box and I will get to them at the end of the webinar. My information is right here on the screen if you'd like to get in contact with me. Also, be sure to give us a follow on social media. We post industry and Cornerstone updates and information, so go to Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, or YouTube to give us a follow. All right, let's get started. Having a website is pretty much non-negotiable in 2023, but the cost of hiring a web designer isn't accessible for everyone, especially if you own your own small business. But having a website is a crucial step in establishing trust with your prospects, especially when it comes to the design and the navigation of your website. You want your site to direct your prospects or even your current clients to the right places so that they can learn more about your business to establish a baseline, and then eventually they'll get in contact with you. You might be thinking to yourself, I do not have an eye for design, so this isn't really for me. Well, that's where you're wrong. Whether you know it or not, your brain recognizes bad design every day. Maybe you got frustrated on another site because you couldn't figure out how to find something important. Maybe you were confused by a postcard because you didn't understand who to call to discuss the information they shared. You even notice bad design in the world throughout your day-to-day life, with traffic lights that are poorly timed or menus that are so large that they cause decision fatigue. The goal of good design is to be user-centric, and that especially applies to your website. The interesting thing about creating a website is that it puts the control in the hands of the user. With a website, the client is put at the forefront of the customer journey, as opposed to being bombarded with advertisements and being pressured to purchase. This is a strategy known as inbound marketing. With inbound marketing, we are focusing on providing value to the client, rather than forcing content upon them that they don't need or don't want, just like those head-on apply directly to the forehead commercials that we were all really annoyed by in the early 2000s. They would play on a loop. If we put our focus on inbound marketing, then the purpose of our website changes, as does the content we choose to host on our website. We go from starburst-laden, car salesman-y, scream-in-your-face advertising to an advertising strategy that is centered around the customer and what they need. And isn't that the main focus of the sales process when you're talking to your customer? To answer questions, to fill in the gaps where your product is needed. So today we're going to talk about the most important inbound marketing tool out there, which is your website. And we're going to walk through the most important elements of your website, design secrets that you can keep in mind, and how you can get started with a Squarespace website. Obviously, Squarespace is not the only available website, but it is the one that I'm most familiar with and that I think has the best features. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. First, you have to claim your domain name. If you decide to work through Squarespace, you can purchase your domain directly through their website, but you can also purchase domain names through sites like GoDaddy. There are a couple things to keep in mind when you decide on a domain name. You want the domain to be relevant, memorable, and legitimate. Of course, sites like healthcare.gov are already taken, so how can we find a good domain name in such a crowded market? First, you want to start with your brand and the name of your business. Let's say, for example, that you run Murphy's Health Insurance Agency. Based on that name, you can look for domains like murphys.com or murphyshealthinsurance.com. You want to keep the domain as close to your name as possible. And I would discourage you from using domain names like health insurance for you if they don't match with your brand. You might think that that a site with a massive keyword like that would be beneficial, but that just isn't the case. Playing within the Google algorithm gives you more that involves more than just your domain name. So you want to keep it simple with just like your agency name. However, it would be beneficial to purchase additional domains that are somewhat similar to the domain you decide on because the internet is so competitive. So let's take crnstone.com, for example. Obviously, we've had some people make mistakes where they type cornerstone.com instead of crnstone.com, which brings them to the wrong website. In a perfect world, we would own cornerstone.com as well, so we can set up a redirect to our real site if the user accidentally misspells it. So that would be the benefit of having multiple domains. Next, you want to find your inspiration online. Once you have your domain purchased, you want to take some time to find some inspiration for your new site. Think of the websites that you visited that were really easy to navigate and they had graphics that you were attracted to and had information that encouraged you to take some action. So you want to skim the internet for some well-designed websites and just take some notes on what you like and even what you do not like about them. Maybe you love a website's color palette or their use of visuals, or maybe you hate the tone of voice of a website. Maybe you notice that some websites are very difficult to navigate. Think to yourself, how would you fix their system so it's easier to get to? Is there a natural place that your eye moves to find the information that you're looking for and it's just not there? I have a couple of websites that come to mind when I think of websites that have worked well for me as a user, and that is ladiesgetpaid.com, careercontested.com, buffer.com, etc. And there are a few things that these sites have in common that attract my attention, which is user friendliness, easy navigation, resources, and above all, interesting content. So before you determine the content, imagery, and navigation, you have to determine the purpose of your website. Who are you trying to target? And what do you want them to be able to do through your website? How would you like to convey yourself with your voice and your tone through your website? So this is really the why of the whole project. Why are you even creating a website? What is the benefit for your specific business of having this website? Is it prospecting? Is it an easy way for your current clients to get in contact with you? What is the purpose? Once you've determined that purpose, you can start considering the site content starting with the site navigation. When your clients or prospects come to your site, what would you like them to see? As a health insurance agent, there are a couple recommendations that I have for your site navigation. So these are all the pages that I would recommend you have, and the content that I would include on each page. First is the homepage. This is your website's and, by extension, your brand's first impression. You want this page to be simple, informative, and above all, easy to navigate. Your website should start with a headline, a subheadline, and a call to action button that links to ways for the prospect or the client to get in contact with you. The headline and the subheadline should detail what you do, how you do it better than the competition, and the benefits of working with your agency. So for example, we'll use the Cornerstone website again. We use welcome brokers as our header, so we know exactly who we're talking to, and let us help you build your business. Then the call to action button just says join us, which is encouraging the user to get in contact with us. Additionally, you want to include a high resolution image that best represents the services that you offer. You want to use images that convey positive messages and encourage action. So you don't want to just put any image out there, even if it's something that you find interesting or aligns with your personal hobbies or preferences for imagery. You want to make sure that it is aligned with the way that you want your consumer to feel when they are visiting your site. So we use the picture of a happy broker who is shaking hands with somebody, presumably somebody working at Cornerstone, and they're content with their partnership. Your homepage is also a great place to include any testimonials or any positive reviews that your clients have provided over the years, which will help build trust with prospective clients. And you also want to ensure that your homepage has an easy way for clients to contact you, whether that's through a form or through a very clear phone number on your website. Next, we have the About page, and I've used the St. Jude Children's Research Hospital's About Us page because I think they did a great job. This is a great place to talk about yourself, your experience, your education, and if you want to, you can talk about your personal life. And this is also a really great place to talk about your agency's history, especially if it's like a legacy business or a family business. This is a great place to talk about that. Next are the services page, or the information about what you offer as an agency. You want to ensure that it's very clear what you offer. Some agencies include everything that they offer under one page, and others create separate pages for each service. So for example, if you have service for employee benefits and then you have another one for individual health insurance, and you offer both services, you can either put employee benefits on one page and individual on one page, or you can put both under the same page titled like what you offer. And under each page, if you do separate them, you want to make it clear who that service is for and what additional offerings you have with that service. So for example, if you offer compliance reviews for your employee benefit clients, that would be a great place to talk about that. And maybe some resources that might help your clients better understand their options within that offering. Resources are also a great addition to any website, especially when you're trying to establish yourself as an expert. These can be resources that you've created, like maybe a guide to group plan options or a resource offered in the industry that you'd like to link to. So you could link to like the Health and Human Services website, healthcare.gov. And in the world of health insurance, it can also be really useful to include a quoting tool on your website. So I know that Kaiser offers one. If you have a Health Sherpa account through Cornerstone, you get a quoting tool, things like that. Those would be great things to put on your website. Finally, the Contact Us page will do exactly as it says. It'll provide an easy to find way for your clients and prospects to get in contact with you, as well as any location information for clients to find your office. A good example of this navigation that I've talked about is blockadvisors.com, which is a website by H&R Block. I've got it up here on the screen right now. Just want to make sure that's showing. Okay, yep, we're good to go. On the home page, you can see that we have a very clear headline and call to action buttons that will tell you exactly what is going to happen next, and a friendly face with a high resolution image right at the forefront. And below that, there are some very simple explanations of the kind of clients that they can help, as well as the services that they provide to those clients. And then they have a strong testimonial section where they include reviews from their current clients, and then finally more contact information that makes it easy for clients to reach out. So I would definitely check this out as a website that you can model yours after, especially considering that they have all of their services under different pages. So they have taxes, bookkeeping, payroll, business formation. Those are all different services that they offer, as well as the resource center, which is pretty simple but really effective. And then finally, their contact page is labeled Meet with a Tax Pro. So if you go back to their homepage, oh, I saw it before. Oh, something must have changed. But it's very easy to get in contact with them through this website. So I definitely recommend checking this out. Again, this is blockadvisors.com as a good website for you to review. Oops. All right. Now, once you have your navigation, you can start on your content. There are a few things to keep in mind when you're writing out all of the copy that you need to include on your website, including SEO and the internet's reward system. SEO, which is something that you've probably heard, is search engine optimization. And that's how you get your website seen online through organic search, which is basically just search that is non-ad. So think of when you type in health insurance agents near me and a million results pop up. If you focus on SEO for your website, that's going to help bump your site up in the rankings so that it's closer to the top of that list. And by extension, it's more likely to be seen by users. So when considering how to get better SEO, there are a few things that you can do while putting together your content for your website. The first is to focus on keywords and your page headings. On this slide, I've included a list of some popular keywords that are used among professional health insurance websites, and that's both for carriers and for agents because it's a pretty crowded market. The keywords are pretty difficult to pay for if you're doing Google Ads. It's pretty expensive. So using these keywords within your text and in your headings is going to help you with your Google rankings because these are the keywords that are most likely to be searched by clients on Google. Of course, you don't want to overdo it and make the content sound unnatural, but be sure to keep this in mind as you're doing your writing, just that you want to make sure that your headings and your text do include some of these keywords. The second way to improve your SEO is by playing the Google game, which is going to reward websites for very specific types of content that you create and publish on your website, especially videos, blogs, social media, etc. So creating and hosting this type of content on your website is a great way to ensure you're doing what you can for free to improve your SEO. Again, health insurance is a very crowded market on Google, so it is kind of difficult to bump yourself up above maybe like a United Healthcare because United Healthcare uses United Healthcare money and you're using small business health insurance money. So this is just one of those ways that you can make sure that you're still able to play that game without having to spend a ton of cash. Another very important element of a well-designed website is the use of call to action buttons and forms. So consider, for example, the Cornerstone website. I've got a couple of screenshots here. You'll notice as you navigate through our site that we have a lot of buttons that link to other pages, many of which include a form or maybe a phone number to get in contact with us. The benefit of having these elements is not only so that the clients can easily get in contact with you, they're also great for tracking. Sites like Squarespace will help you track form submissions over time and who submitted what form and when and where that form was accessed. So you can also see how many times the form was viewed versus the amount of submissions that you received. So you can figure out if people are filling out the form, and if they aren't, you can investigate why. Now for the fun part, your website's imagery, the colors and the typography. Style is what takes your website from good to great. And while your content is vitally important for your website, your visuals are really going to pull quite a bit of weight. You want to make sure that the style of your website matches your brand and is ultimately eye-catching, so that maintains the attention of your users. I created a whole webinar on basic design last year, so I encourage you to check that out for a very basic guide on finding the right visual story for your brand. I've kind of included a screenshot here. It's on our YouTube page and on our resource center if you'd like to check it out. As you're doing your final checks, once you're done with your website, you want to ensure that your website loads quickly, can be easily viewed on mobile and tablets, and is accessible for those with hearing and visual impairments. And there are a few resources that you can use to ensure your content meets these high standards for these issues. With responsiveness, which is the ability for your webpage to be seen on a variety of different screen sizes, if you use something like Squarespace, or there are other platforms like Wix or WordPress, your website will be automatically responsive. So it'll be able to be seen on both mobile and tablet devices, just as easily as it can be seen on your computer. And one way to check the responsiveness of your website, excuse me, is to go to your browser with a website and shrink the page or shrink the browser window and check how it looks from there. If you can still navigate the site easily, then your site is responsive. So this would be approximately like a phone if you were to shrink it down to this size. And then this size would be about what it looks like on a tablet. And then obviously this is the full screen for a computer. The next thing to keep in mind is load times. SpeedLab is a free tool that you can use on your browser to ensure that your website loads quickly. All you have to do is type in your website and it'll show you your website speed and any recommendations for improving its functionality. You want to shoot for no more than 2 seconds to load your website. And finally, accessibility. To ensure your website is accessible for those with disabilities, I encourage you to review this website accessibility checklist from the W3C Website Accessibility Initiative. I put a link in there and I'll make sure to include the PowerPoint in a follow-up email. This provides an in-depth review of the content, navigation, and style changes that you might need to make in order to ensure that your content is accessible. It is a long checklist to go through, but it's absolutely worth it, especially working in health insurance where you're working with people who might have a number of disabilities that makes it difficult for them to review your website. So definitely check this out, and when you're creating your website, ensure that you have as many of these boxes ticked as you could. Once your website is up and running, it doesn't stop there. You'll want to continually monitor the success of your website by tracking your analytics. So that would be your page views, any button clicks, form fills, etc., to ensure that the content on your website and the navigation are effective for your users. Squarespace, not to be a broken record, but Squarespace does offer decent analytic information for your websites. But you can also use tools like Google Analytics to review these numbers, and that's a free way to look through it. All right, with all of that information in mind, let's walk through how you can actually put it all to practice with a Squarespace website. Again, this is not the only website that you can use to create a website. This is just the one that I prefer. So Squarespace, it offers more when it comes to user friendliness, especially for those who have never created a website before. And it offers more like marketing and SEO tools. So you can do your email marketing through there. You can do your social media through there. You can customize your site, and the cost is pretty decent as well. And for those purposes, we're going to focus on creating a website through Squarespace. But of course, you should choose the builder that's best for you and do some research on your own to see if there's anything that would suit your needs better for how you want your website to operate. All right. Regardless of the website that you choose, the main benefit is that you're going to have everything that you need for your website in one place rather than a couple usernames here and there based on what your web designer gave you 10 years ago. And please note, there's nothing wrong with using a web designer. In fact, I definitely encourage it if you have the capital to do so. However, you want to make sure that you can continually communicate with the designers and developers so you have complete access to everything you need as the owner of the site. So you want the domain names and the expiration dates. You want usernames to log into the back end of the site. You want security information, etc. This can be difficult to do if you just work with a freelancer, or maybe your nephew makes websites on the side for some extra cash. If you work with a legitimate web designer, like we always recommend Cincinnati Web Tech, they will be in constant communication with you and will monitor your site for any necessary changes. They operate more as an extension of your business instead of just as like a set it and forget it type web designer. So that's just something to keep in mind. All right, so let's get back to Squarespace. Getting started is super easy. They even have a button that says so. So all you do is click Get Started at the top right-hand corner of the screen. And then from there, you can select any of their pre-made templates. But first, they're going to ask you a couple of questions, and you can fill this out if you'd like to, and they'll make recommendations for templates, but you don't have to if you don't want to. They do offer a couple of different types of templates over here, and based on, being a health insurance professional who's trying to sell, your services, you might want to focus more on like portfolio or memberships or blog type templates, maybe scheduling, things like that. And they will provide templates that you can start off with. So if I'm kind of going through and reviewing everything, seeing what catches my eye best, they offer a ton of them. I like this one though. It's Clove, and you can also preview what that would actually look like as a site. I think that looks pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and choose that one. So I'm going to go ahead and click Start with Clove. And then it's going to ask you to create an account. So I actually already have an account. So I'm going to go ahead and include that. And then you're going to go ahead and log in. And then boom, just like that, it's created a website for you. So we're going to name this website Jessica's Health Insurance Agency. Go ahead and click there. And then it's going to give you a bit of a tutorial on how to do everything, which is super helpful, especially for people who have never made a website before. They also offer some more like onboarding type things to make sure that you understand what you're doing. So I definitely recommend you go through this checklist here on the right-hand side if you're just getting started. I apologize for all the pauses. I'm making sure I'm checking for questions as I go. If you have any questions while I'm going through, please feel free to type them in the chat box. So on the left-hand side here, you see a bunch of different pages. So you have pages, design, commerce, marketing, etc. When you first get your page, you want to make sure that you're going to get your domain. So you're going to go to Settings, and then Domains is right down here at the bottom. And they're going to give you like a temporary domain that isn't really a domain. It's just something that you can use as you're setting it up. It's sort of like while we're getting set up, you can use this to preview your site, make sure it looks good type thing. So you can either use a domain that you already own, and it'll walk you through the steps that you need to take in order to connect those domains, or you can get a domain, and all you do is click on that button. And they're going to offer a number of different options for you based on what you titled your site. So I could purchase Jessica's Health Insurance.agency for $40 per year, and I could purchase it right through Squarespace and then check out. But I'm not going to buy a domain. I'm not trying to start a health insurance agency at this time. So we're going to go ahead and go back. So once you have your domain in place, that's a great start. I would make sure that you own your domain, but maybe don't shift everything over to that domain until the website is actually published and ready to go, just because you don't want people to see the continual edits of the site. So working through Squarespace is super easy as far as editing the content. So this is just the homepage right here. And you can see that they offer a navigation up here for me, which is actually quite similar to what we discussed. So about, services, team, blog, and contact. I really like all of those. However, I don't really need the team one. So I'm going to go to pages. And then right here, you can see that I have the team page on the main navigation. So I'm going to go ahead and just delete that. Confirm. And then it removes that page altogether. So now I have my about page, my services page, my blog page, and my contact page. And I also have a get started button here, which is a great tool for a call to action. Maybe I will offer that to go to a contact me form. So in order to make page changes, all you need to do is hit the edit button at the left-hand corner, and everything is very much drag and drop. Oh, there it is, drag and drop editor. So we're going to go ahead and skip that. Really, you can just click on the text and you'll be able to change it. These little pop-ups are going to come up all the time for to teach you how to use this stuff, but we're just going to skip those for now. So we can just type in anything that we want, and we'll be able to change the fonts, we'll be able to change the colors, and it's super easy. Even changing out this photo is really easy. All you have to do is click edit section, and then you change out the background. And what's nice about Squarespace is that it offers some stock images for you to use. So if you want to add an image, you can browse stock images. That one seems fun. And it will automatically upload it for you. So as you can see, it's really, really easy to manage your site through Squarespace. It's very much drag and drop. So this is why I highly recommend it. If you go back to the home page on the left-hand side here, there's also a button for design, and this is where you can manage your site styles. So that's going to be your fonts, your colors, animations, spacing, buttons, image blocks, etc. So you would just click on each of those and you can change out your fonts as needed. So they offer some ideas for fonts that go well together, so you can use these. Or if your font has, or if your brand has a specific font that you like to use, then you can choose those specifically as well. So let's say, for example, that I like to use Josephine Sands. Then I'll be able to change that pretty easily. You can also change if the font is going to be bold, if you want the style to be normal or italic, the line height for everything. So if you want things to be farther apart, you want the letter spacing to be far apart. You can change the size of the headings. So as I was talking about with SEO, your headings are where you want to put those keywords. So right here, this would not be a great website header, but it does get the job done with SEO because it is one of those keywords that are listed. But you would want to try to include your keywords in these kind of areas here. And it is as simple as that. The Squarespace site kind of walks you through everything. And like I said, they have additional marketing tools like emails, and you can set up your social media through this. You can also schedule appointments with your clients through this. It does come at an additional cost, but if you wanted to include on your contact page like a link for like set up a meeting with me or something like that, then it could go to a scheduling page where it hooks up with your Outlook or your Google Calendar, and lets your clients know when you are free to talk. So these are just some additional options. Again, that does come at an additional cost, but it could be worth it depending on what your goals for the site are. All right. I think that's all I have for right now, but there is a lot more to be covered about creating a website. So if you have any questions, go ahead and type them into the chat and I will get to them individually. I can answer any questions about your current website or about the website that you're trying to make now. But I will give you just a couple of minutes here to ask any questions that you have. We also have a Tech Tuesday webinar coming up next week on Tuesday, obviously, is all about Excel. So if you would like to learn more about Excel, join Tom Levine to learn more on Tuesday at 9:30, and you can register for that webinar on the Cornerstone event calendar. Okay, I'll just give it a couple more minutes here to see if anybody has any questions. Okay, I see somebody raised their hand. If you do have a question, go ahead and type it into the chat box. and I will get to that. Okay, yes, I will be sending out the presentation. This year, we are going to be sending out recordings of each webinar after they happen. So anybody who has registered for the webinar will receive those recordings. So I'm hoping to get this to you, if not today, then early tomorrow. So you will receive the presentation, and I will include the PowerPoint this time because there are quite a few links on here that I think would be helpful for your own research. All right, I don't think we have any additional questions, but if you can't think of anything right now, but you have questions later, please feel free to contact me. You can send me an email or you can give me a call. My information is right here on the screen. If you'd like to jot that down, I'm happy to answer any questions about your website, but I'm also here as your go-to gal for marketing. So if you have any questions about your marketing, things that you can do better, or wondering just if you're on the right track, then feel free to contact me. I'm happy to have a conversation with you. And thank you all for joining today. If you have any additional questions, like I said, contact us. And I'm looking forward to chatting more about marketing with you. If you have any recommendations. Oh, it looks like we do have a question. Okay, seems like these are easy to do, but are there companies available to hire to do this? And what is the approximate cost? Yes, we highly recommend Cincinnati Web Tech, who does our website. Actually, they handle the Cornerstone website, and it does come at a cost, but like I said, it is absolutely worth it to have somebody who is continually checking for updates, who is managing the securities all the time, especially as a health insurance agent, who is able to do some back end coding that you're not able to do. It's been pretty important for us to work with them over the years, especially for somebody like me who knows how to make these websites, but there are still some things that I can't do because I'm not a web designer. So it's always nice to work with somebody like that. So Cincinnati Web Tech is who we recommend. Their names are Corey and Chris, and I have worked with them for the last 7 years, and they do an excellent job. They're very responsive, and they do all the things that I don't know how to do. And that's a great option if you don't have the time to handle all of this as well, which I know is time is a a depleting resource as a health insurance agent. So working with a web designer could be definitely worth the investment. But as far as like creating a website through Squarespace, I believe it was $171 for the year. Last time I had a website through Squarespace, plus the cost of your domain. So, like we saw on the screen, if I were to purchase that domain, it would have been approximately $40 per year. That's going to change depending on um, how good the domain is, but that would be the approximate cost that I'd be budgeting for. All right, looks like that's all we have. So everyone, feel free to let me know if you have any ideas for the rest of the webinars in this series or in any others in the survey following. And everybody have a great day.